So in 13 days, I will officially become the 57th governor of the state of New York. And shortly thereafter, I look forward to delivering an address to all New Yorkers to lay out my vision for the great state of New York. But make no mistake, our work has already begun. And I know this year and a half has been so challenging for families and businesses across our state. And sometimes it doesn't feel like it's getting easier. The Delta variant is still raging, and it's going to take all of us to defeat it. Our children are heading back to school soon. There's a lot of anxiety from the moms and dads I speak to, and the teachers as well. It's going to take all of us working together to keep our children safe, our teachers safe, and anyone who works in a school safe. Small businesses are just starting to bounce back into an uncertain world. We need to reassure them that they'll be okay. And our workers are once again debating whether they should even go back to their jobs, or go back to their offices, go back to their factories. Is it safe enough? But I know New Yorkers. They are hardwired to persevere and to prevail. And the promise I make to all New Yorkers, right here and right now, I will fight like hell for you every single day, like I've always done and always will.
Good Thursday. This is the Chocolate Knox with your Cross Politic Daily News Brief, and that was the voice of one Kathy Hochul, who is now the new governor of New York. Wow. 2021 just keeps on giving. Don't forget, you can send us news stories to news@crosspolitic.com. Love to see those news stories come in. That is news@crosspolitic.com. All population growth in the U.S. is driven by minorities, is what the upcoming census data is likely to reveal today. The new census data planned for release on August 12th will show definitely how the ethnic and racial voting age makeup of neighborhoods shifted over the past decade based on the house-to-house canvassing last year. I had somebody actually knock on my door when they said they're from the government. All they heard was ch-ch. The United States is also expected to have passed two other milestones on its way to becoming a majority minority society in a few decades. For the first time, the portion of white people could dip below 60%, and the under 18 population is likely to be majority non-white. In April 2020, census state population total showed the United States grew by 7.4% in the past decade, much slower than any other decade except the 1930s, since the census was taken starting in 1790. The state with the most growth were in the West and the South. What do you mean, around the border areas? Which have seen an influx of people moving in from other countries and other states. It's so gentle how they say that, isn't it? Estimates that from 2016 to 2020 show that all the country's population growth during that period came from increase in people of color. The largest and most steady gains were among Hispanics, whom have doubled their population share over the past 3 decades to almost 20%, who are believed to account for half of the nation's growth since 2010. They are expected to drive about half of the growth in more than a dozen states, including Texas, Florida, Arizona, New Mexico, and even Nevada. Asian people, who make up about 3% of the population in 1990, could double that in the 2020 census. While the black population, listen closely, its share is likely to hold steady at around 12.5%. I wonder what abortion has to do with that. Whites are expected to account for over half of the growth in only 5 states, plus the District of Columbia. In 26 states, the number of whites has declined. According to Bureau estimates, up to 6 states and the district could have majorities of people of color, including Nevada, Maryland, which, if they pass that marker, will have done so in just the past decade. The trend is projected to continue, with whites falling below 50% nationally around the year 2045. Also, at that point, there will be no racial majority in the country between 2015 and 2060. The Hispanic and Asian population are expected to approximately double in size. And the multiracial population could triple due to both immigration and births. The U.S. population is also becoming older than it used to be. And in 31 states, the population of people under the age of 18 is estimated to have declined since 2010. Yikes. The change looks different in various geographic areas. Some states will remain both white and continue to lose population as their residents age and die and move away, while others will grow and become increasingly ethnically and racially diverse. In 2020, the census shows us that population grew at least at the slowest pace ever since 1930. Yikes. This shift that we're seeing, some are calling a cultural generation gap. My wife also likes to call this a lack of wisdom for these young folks. With older generations that are much wider than younger ones, racial minorities will drive all the growth in the U.S. labor force as white baby boomers retire and will make the difference between growth and decline in rural and suburban areas. I want to recommend that you go back and listen to the Sansdemic show with our brother Rob Sense. There's a lot more going on behind all of that, and they are missing some of it. Long-term unemployment remains high even after the recovery in red states. A recently released report from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, also known as BLS, revealed that 3.4 million Americans are still long-term unemployed, a term used when someone cannot find work for 6 months at least. This comes as the high economy added nearly 1 million jobs in July, defying the Delta variant and the fears that come along with it, and calls for the return of the tighter measures to stop the spread. COVID restrictions remain mostly steady across the country. Still, the country is split on the path forward. Republican-led states are ready to move forward and beyond the COVID madness, while Democrats look to continue fighting each new variant that the CDC warns about. As Town Hall reported earlier, blue states that continue government unemployment checks have seen the highest unemployment, while red states that ended government unemployment checks are leading the economic recovery. As the Wall Street Journal observed in June, the number of unemployment benefits recipients is falling at a faster rate in Missouri, and 21 other states canceling enhanced and extended payments this month, suggesting that ending the aid could push more people to take jobs. Who'da thunk? Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt, a Republican, was one of those Republicans looking to end the $300 weekly federal unemployment checks. Wow. $300 a week. That's what we're worth. Looking to end unemployment checks that kept people at home instead of in the workforce. He ended the handout in June, and while that same time announcing plans to give residents in his state $1,200 if they return back to work. But last week, an Oklahoma County District Judge ruled that the state must resume supplemental checks to Oklahomans. That is not going to end well. The state of Hawaii is reinstituting some COVID-19 restrictions on public gatherings and businesses in response to what they're seeing as a rise in COVID-19 cases. So I just have one question. I see that the lockdowns actually haven't worked. The Democratic Governor David Ig on Tuesday signed the executive order reimposing capacity limits in restaurants, bars, and other places where people gather in public, and also over items that they don't actually own, by the way. They don't own your business. They don't own your yard. They don't own your home. They don't own you. With COVID-19 cases going up, the state of Hawaii is taking precautions to avert a strain on our health system, is what they're saying. Remember, this is how it all started. Hey, we just want to make sure that the hospitals don't get overwhelmed. And most of them went unused. To that end, I'll be signing an executive order that will limit social gatherings effective immediately. The governor announced this on his social media platform. Social gatherings will be limited to no more than 10 people indoors, 25 people outdoors. Wow. Anyone who dines out at a restaurant or bar must be seated at least 6 feet away from the other diners, and masks are required at all times except for when actively eating and drinking. Any proposal for professionally sponsored events with crowds of 50 people or more must be reviewed and approved by the county governments. These events include weddings, meetings, banquets, and conventions. I'm sure funerals are on there too. Do you think you're going to have church service? Not with more than 50, you're not. Indoor capacity at businesses, including restaurants, gyms, or other social venues, will be limited to 50%. How much you want to bet other social venues includes houses of worship? These restrictions will apply statewide, and the governor executive order will remain in effect until October 18th. Yikes. In the you got to be stupid news, Oregon is going to become the 10th state to re-implement indoor mandates. Oregon is re-implementing an indoor mask mandate regardless of individuals' vaccination status. The Democratic Oregon Governor Kate Brown, these Democratic governors seem to have something in common. The Democratic Governor Kate Brown of Oregon just announced this Tuesday. You smell that? Yeah, that's still the smoke of Portland burning. Brown claimed that the increase in COVID-19 related cases and hospitalizations could strain the healthcare system. The mandate, set to take effect on Friday, will require unvaccinated and vaccinated Oregonians over the age of 5 to wear a mask in public indoor spaces, according to the article from the AP. Public indoor spaces includes grocery stores. Just in case you didn't know what a public indoor space was: grocery stores, restaurants, indoor entertainment venues, gyms, and other businesses. Pretty much anything that we say. However, the mandate includes carve-outs for certain activities such as eating, drinking, and organized sports. I don't see churches anywhere on the list. On public transportation, individuals, regardless of their vaccination status, will have to wear a face mask. We have gone insane. Before I go, I want to remind you of something that you've heard so much about, and we'd love to have you out there at the conference, The Politics of Sex, September 9th through 11th. Pastor Vodi Bakum, Pastor Doug Wilson, Pastor Toby Sumter. I was going to say Doug Tenaple, Pastor Doug Tenaple. He's not a pastor, but he's going to be there too. Over 30 speakers for our, I almost said breakout session, SWAT Talks. If you haven't, go to flfnetwork.com. Sign up for the conference today. I look forward to seeing you there. Don't forget, there's all kinds of ways to support us. One of the best ways to support us, and I want to keep saying that, hitting the share button. Hit the share button every time. Just say, I'm going to hit it. It's probably good anyway. Share with your friends. It destroys all the algorithms, and it helps us grow and gets the news out there. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.